I just got to the park and deciding where to sit, and nature's speaking to me already. Look at that weird spider. Such a weird looking spider. I've never seen anything like that before. I'll just let him be and I won't sit there, but never seen a spider that looks kind of like a crab. And I'm not really gonna edit these videos I make today, so forgive the breaks and the coughs and the screw up of words and stuff like that. And I'm not sure if it's safe to talk to myself without scaring myself yet. Or if it's even safe to be at the park yet by myself. And I got in my car and I started to drive here, and the brakes were squeaky. And I thought, oh, my brakes have kind of messed up just sitting there. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, I haven't gone anywhere for a week, haven't driven. I got majorly derailed, and I don't think I'm going to edit the other videos I made along the way from the last week. So I won't really know what I said to myself, and I don't really want to know. I don't think I said anything too freaky, but it was a definite, really, really scary week. And I don't know if it's over, because it was pretty intense even last night, and I was sitting there and then I was thinking, oh man, I don't know if I can take this anymore. I might just drug myself with Seroquel more tonight or something. And then it let up. It seems to have this mechanism of super intensity, so intense, but at the same time enough that one can handle. People are walking by. Hi. So there's this mercy, and I've experienced that before while in the psych ward, thinking, oh my gosh, I can't take another moment. But in the psych ward, there's someone to say, oh, can I have a PRN? Or, oh, I'm feeling this, or I'm thinking that, and then they do something to fix it. But outside, it seems like, and on my own, it seems like I can decide to do something to fix it. Like, okay, I know I can take a Seroquel, and I will if this and this and that happens. But then I didn't have to, and I managed to fall asleep on half of a Seroquel. Whereas the night before I took 3/4, and the night before I took 1 1/4, and the night before I might have taken 2. I've lost track. I've only taken Seroquel at night, except that day on Tuesday morning when I felt like I was dying and I was going to kill myself, but I knew I wasn't. And then I took Seroquel and just sort of passed out for a couple days. Things seem to happen out of order. It's really weird. And there's a little bug on my screen, but whatever. So, yeah, this causality is not making sense. I'll try to make this as linear as possible, but yeah, I learned a lot. It was really scary. I could make up a bunch of ideas about what's going on, but basically it seems like I'm going to be derailed every 8 to 8.5 to 9 months because it started at about 8.5 months again. And I did talk myself through a lot of it because it was there and it got worse. It was bearable, then it got really worse. So I'm wondering if, since today I haven't really felt too much of it, that the process is over and it's been about a week of the worst of it, of really having to lie low and not do anything. Or since I've been still kind of functioning most of the time, if I haven't really rested it all off and it'll keep coming back each day, or what? I'm not sure, because this is all new territory. I think being here right now, I'm not necessarily feeling better talking to myself. So maybe I'm not quite ready. Because I think talking to myself when my brain is still kind of confused just adds to the confusion, if the confusing part isn't over. And I could say that I equally don't know what the heck I'm talking about on a daily basis in the last year or so, but at least I don't feel afraid and things like that during that time. So yeah, a lot of fear of death, and there's this theme of feeling like one is interfering with life and people's lives by sensing past karma that sometimes feels like it's from past lives or future lives or present life, and trying to find causality, which is impossible. Because if one tries to find causality, one has to go back to the Big Bang, if that was even the cause. And it feels like when my brain implodes like that, it feels like a big bang in my own life. And then I think about the other times I've had this so-called psychosis, and then I think about how I've experienced this fear in small doses in my life at other times when I didn't have psychosis. Like the fear of dying when I was a little girl, I was just really young. It was terrifying. And I jumped out of bed and ran for the security of my mom. It's the same fear that makes me jump out of bed now. Like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid I'm gonna die one day or now, and then the brain creates some kind of story. This feeling like I was ending my life, but intending just to knock myself out and go to sleep. Felt like, well, that could have been a past life, or a possibility based on all the karma of my life this life and last life and whatever that even means. And our lives aren't separate. And I'm really seeing how our brains are really connected and they really do respond to each other. Someone was saying to someone, or someone said to me, I don't want to say names, someone said to me that they said to someone else that so-and-so hadn't texted them, and then they went down and looked at their iPad and so-and-so had just texted them. And so-and-so hadn't texted in quite a while. So it's like, it's so connected. And then somebody was saying they were stressed and that they noticed that another person hangs around them a lot when they feel stressed. It's like they know or something. And these are things that I sense every second sometimes, and it's confusing and disorientating, and it feels like when it gets going too much, it could almost be like amplified into a so-called hallucination. Because if that's how it's working now, and that's how it's always been working, and then one missed that all along, then it boggles the mind. And then the mind tries to figure out, well, how could I have done things differently? But then that's impossible. So it's really boggling of the mind. And then sitting there with a boggled mind around other people feels like they must be picking up on the boggledness if we're always picking up on each other's minds in so-called good and coherent ways. Then it's happening in the incoherence. So then one feels like when one is in a negative state and incoherent, it's not good to be around others, and it's creating more chaos, or it's trying to resolve the chaos by really feeling it in the body when it was missed all along. It's really confusing, and I feel too that it was prudent not to say what was going on. All that I really said to anyone was, I'm not feeling well, I'm feeling distress, I'm going to be taking Seroquel, I'm going to sleep. So they knew. So they wouldn't come into the room and be like, what's going on? But other than that, I didn't share anything that was going on inside, because it comes and goes and it passes and it fades away. And those things are the past. But then it makes one want to talk about the past, but I don't know when is a good time to do that. It doesn't feel like now is at all. Those are the things that come out of nowhere. So if I felt compelled to talk about those things with the people around me, then they'd have to engage in those things and they'd be thrown off their trajectory. And then I just really felt like, wow, I don't want to have the people around me that care about me have to shuttle me off here and then visit me and all that hoopla. Just felt like I want to get through it myself, and I do not recommend that for anyone. I'm not saying that people should do that. It's so difficult, and it goes with the theme that I've been talking about, that it doesn't get easier. That is so challenging. It's more challenging to try to go through it alone, but supported. People are around, but not saying everything. It's sort of like, if I were in the psych ward, I wouldn't say to every single inpatient what I'm going through. I would say it to the doctors, because they're the ones that are there to listen to that particular thing, and the nurses when they say, how's it going? And then they just use those things to decide whether one is ready to go. Well, I can say nothing about stuff that's going on. It seems to pass anyway, whether I say it to a doctor or nurse, which I don't if I'm not in the psych ward. And then I just determine myself whether I'm ready to take a little ride to the park or not. Self-determination and figuring it out for oneself, which again, I don't recommend. But if it got so bad, there were people around me to help me. And I'm going to end this and talk on another video, because I have 15 minutes to do the upload easily, which I don't know when I'll do that, because my brain has very, very limited capacity right now. Very limited. So yeah, I've learned a lot.